Yo, what's up, guys? We're back for another breakdown and predictions video. And for this week, we got UFC QATAR, so we're going to get into it. First fight of the night, Merrick Bushlo. He's going to be taking on Denzel Freeman. And both these guys are making their UFC debuts. Merrick, he's ran through everyone that he's fought so far. He's 6-0, 6 first-round finishes, and he's never even gone 2 minutes in a fight. His longest fight so far is 1 minute, 42 seconds. All 6 of his fights have been in Poland, so this will be the first time he's traveling to fight. And he's fought against really bad competition, so as of now, the best win that he's had was against a 6-4 fighter. He had another win against someone that was 13-12. All his other wins after that were against guys that had more losses than wins. He has had a lot of time to prepare for this fight, and even Denzel Freeman, though, he wasn't the original opponent, but I believe he's had like over 2 months to get ready. So Denzel Freeman, he's coming out of pound for pound Muay Thai in Colorado and former college wrestler. He's a 3-time national qualifier in the NCAA level. And he went back earlier this year. He competed for the World Wrestling Team for USA, wrestled in Croatia, Mexico, Hungary already this year alone. So he's been active fighting or wrestling all over the world, and he won the LFA heavyweight title, so he's been busy this year. He only had that one MMA fight, but he went out there in March, he got the second round finish, he got the strap, and in 2023 he got his chance to fight for the PFL, and he lost, so this is his second chance to get the job done in a top tier promotion. He's 6-1 currently, so that fight was his only loss. And as far as how these guys match up physically, they're both similar ages, 32 for Merrick, 34 for Denzel Freeman. Bushlo's slightly taller, but Freeman has the weight advantage. In this fight, though, Merrick came in a little heavier, like 254, so in other fights I saw him coming in at 240, so I don't know if that was because Freeman is a heavy guy or whatever reason it was, but he is coming in a little heavier for this fight. But Freeman is still going to weigh more. And then it's jiu-jitsu versus wrestling, really, with Denzel Freeman being a wrestler. Merrick is a black belt in jiu-jitsu. He's a head coach at a jiu-jitsu gym. But Bushlo largely untested. He seems light on his feet. He looks athletic for heavyweight. He'll throw head kicks. He has speed on the overhand, but I've seen no real extended striking exchanges, and he's used his stand-up exclusively to pressure fighters to the fence and then take them down, and he gets body locks. He'll go for double underhooks. He'll try to reap the leg or just bulldoze guys to the ground, and on top, he's aggressive. I've seen him jump on the back and submit guys with rear naked chokes. I've seen him drop down for ankle lock and get that, which was a really interesting opponent that he had there. But he also has multiple ground and pound finishes. So, I mean, he does have finishes in multiple ways on the ground, but he just hasn't had any adversity or had to face anyone that knew what they were doing. So it's hard to know truly how good he is on top. And his last fight, he fought someone who was just wild right off the bat. And even though it was only 10 seconds, I wasn't super impressed with his defense in the stand-up. He almost turned his back and ran away. But when he got the clinch on the cage, it was an easy takedown, as always so far in his career. And we've really seen him just get guys down against the fence quick and get the finish. And I don't see that happening versus Freeman at all. Freeman has been wrestling in Greco tournaments for this whole year, so getting him down in the clinch against the fence should not be easy. And even if he does, I don't see Freeman just being finished in less than 1 minute once he hits the mat like these other opponents that he's been fighting recently. And Denzel Freeman, he strikes like a small guy, though. He has his hands down, which I don't really like. He'll bounce around on the outside until he can time the blitz to wrestle. More recently, though, he's been much more aggressive, wrestling first, not messing around as much. He does have a good head kick and nice 1-2s, but I feel like even though he's athletic and kind of skillful on the feet, for heavyweight, he leaves too many openings, and I don't think that he likes being in a crazy firefight so much. He definitely should rely on his wrestling. And not only does he have the great wrestling in terms of the Greco style, but he could level change off of 1-2s or off of his striking and has a really good double leg as well. And on top, he might not have the same jiu-jitsu acumen as his opponent, but he's been able to scramble back up against guys that have good grappling, and he's been able to mount and get into half mount and posture up and really land heavy strikes on black belts I've seen in other fights. He's gotten a couple rear naked chokes, so he's decent on the ground, and he's elite speed and athleticism. He's proven over 15 minutes cardio-wise, and he trains at elevation. He's a Marine, so you know he is bulletproof mentally, and I've yet to really see him on his back for a long time, so maybe whoever gets on top will likely be more effective here, but like I said, I've seen at least Freeman get put on his back and then scramble back up really quickly, whereas with Merrick, I haven't seen that. And on top of that, on the feet, Freeman should have more experience, and as the fight goes longer, he has a lot more cage time. He has wins over better opponents as well. He won the LFA title against a guy that fought on Contender Series. He beat Steven Asplund, who's now in the UFC, and his last fight he was also able to show takedown defense versus a guy with pretty good wrestling. So I think he's going to be able to get the finish here via first or second round stoppage. I think he'll either get it to the ground or flurry on the feet, and I think he could play it whichever way he wants. Show off his wrestling for a round maybe and then finish in the second, or just show levels from the top position or even on the feet, maybe get a knockout. So unless Merrick is next level on the ground or against the cage, then I think he's going to be up against it here. So Denzel Freeman for me is going to be the prediction, and I'll say that he gets the job done via second round finish. So the next fight that we got on the card is an interesting one, man. Nurello Aliyev versus Shamrock. And Nurello Aliyev at one point was one of the youngest guys in the UFC, and he's still a really young guy at 24 years old, and taking on someone that has walked that lonely road already at 32, making his UFC debut. So just in that sense, it's interesting. But, Nurello Aliyev, this is his second fight of 2025, which is a good thing to see. He fought in January. He beat Joe Selecki, and he hasn't been able to fight twice in a year since 2018. So that's why I said that I'm happy for him that he was able to do it. He only fought once in 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, and then last year he didn't fight at all. So he's been signed to the UFC since 2022. He has some quality wins over Rafael Alves, over Joe Selecki. So if he could be more active, he has a chance to move up in the rankings. And like I said, he was one of the youngest guys at one point in the UFC, so he's still only 24. And even with all the layoffs, he has a ton of experience for his age. And 10-0 as a pro, 2-0 as an amateur, so he's never learned how to lose either. And you could argue that this fight doesn't make a ton of sense for Shamrock because a UFC debutant against someone that's 2-0 against two pretty good opponents. But Shamrock is a fighter with hype, so beating him will at least boost Aliyev's profile, especially in the UK. But Shamrock, he's arrived in the UFC at this point. He's 12-1-1, been really campaigning for this opportunity. And him and Luke Riley are on this card. So they're both next-gen guys. They're going to be sharing this card. Paddy Pimblett's another next-gen guy in the UFC. So they have a good camp for sure, one of the better camps in the UK. And Luke Riley is maybe not like the guy to give you a Nurello look, but I think that Paddy Pimblett maybe could have helped him and other guys in that camp. There's a lot of really high-level grapplers there, so that's good to see. And, Shamrock, he's used to high-pressure moments. He's a guy who's super brash outside the cage. He'll talk a lot of trash, get in your face, kind of try to bully you. He's been a little more subdued in this one, but he's been fighting in big stadiums, in Octagon, and been in main events or main attractions on the fight card. So I feel like he's not going to be overwhelmed by this moment. And I mean, the guy's someone who's already been in, crazy experiences in his life. I mean, you could write a book about this guy. He was charged with burglary in 2014, violent burglary, and he decided to go on the run, and he made it to Malaysia, and he was there for, I believe, like 7 years. And in that time period, he started his MMA career, and he went on some reality MMA shows, and it kind of, I think, tipped off the police to his whereabouts and what he was doing. And when he got back to England, he got arrested, was in prison for 6 months, I believe, in 2022, and he ended up being found not guilty. So now he's back in England. He's training at Next Gen, and he's leveled up and started to put on some really good fights in a big time promotion. So, man, talk about a life turnaround for him. Shout out to Shamrock for that. But you look at this fight from a stylistic perspective, on the feet, Shamrock is definitely more dangerous. He's long, he's lanky, he throws good kicks. I feel like he's getting a lot more polished with the striking. His distance control is good. He is aggressive, but he fights smart. He maintains the center. He likes to kind of wait for fighters to come to him. He'll counter with the hands. He stays active with the kicks. Throws a lot of kicks to all parts of the body. Fast leg kicks, front kicks, round kicks. He'll throw lead leg side kicks pretty seamlessly. And he's a pretty powerful guy. He'll throw some 1-2 straights in general. I feel like on the feet he's going to have a pretty significant advantage. And he is a black belt in jiu-jitsu as well, and that is his base, what he started with in martial arts. He likely will have to bring that out here if he's put on his back. He needs to use that guard, create space, try to get back up to his feet. He can't play jiu-jitsu off his back, but he needs to use it to get back up to his feet. And offensively, he has a good double leg. He's methodical on top as well. Good ground and pounds, good back takes, really good rear naked chokes. So he's dangerous even in the grappling realm as well. And for Nurullo Aliyev, he's a guy who starts out really light on his feet. He'll feint fake. He throws a lot of level change feints out there, big overhands over the top. He'll use his level change feints and big punches to hit the takedown, and he covers well. He has decent pressure, but his defense is not great. I mean, he can eat low kicks. He can eat shots that are up the middle, like knees, uppercuts. He doesn't move his head the best, but high-level wrestler. He's extremely strong, explosive, powerful. He uses pressure and level changes to open up his hands and vice versa, open up the takedown, and super fast level changes. Kind of does tend to just stay chest to chest, work ground and pound, and he's good at wrist riding. He'll land some big punches, but he doesn't have many finishes, and he's more of a guy that wins decisions. Maybe as he gets older, he'll get more finishes, but only 2 knockouts so far in his career and 8-0 in decisions, and one of the 2 KO TKOs was a corner stoppage, so he's really only stopped 1 fight himself. If he does get on top, he does enough to keep the position and win decisions, though. And he showed some great toughness versus Alves. He ate a crazy knee in the 3rd round. He got out of some deep guillotines. He was mounted in the 3rd after some heavy wrestling, and he was still able to reverse the top position. But essentially, Aliyev is not like the most entertaining fighter. He's a nullifier. He wants to put you on your back, wet blanket you, take away a lot of the risk of losing. And he has to be careful here with the submission game of Shamrock, but his ability to survive that deep guillotine versus Alves, pretty deep triangle versus Joe Selecki, that's good until you get caught, but he does have solid, ability to just scramble out of deep submissions. One thing I don't really know about Aliyev is how good his conditioning is. If he's forced to strike, he could slow down significantly, and he never really had a hard fight. And he looked tired in round 3 versus Joe Selecki. He decided to keep it standing for the entire round and even got taken down, mounted, and was elbowed. And maybe he could have gotten finished if there was a little more time on the clock later in that fight. So I think Shamrock is a live dog here. He could get held against the cage, controlled for 2 rounds, lose the fight, but he's the bigger fighter. He's the more dangerous fighter. On the feet, I think his leg kicks and straights will be effective. And he hasn't really thrown knees in fights I've seen or uppercuts, but he's athletic enough to game plan to do so. When he gets taken down, he's pretty good at getting back up. And although in this fight that's really going to be tested, I think if he could time his own double leg, he can maybe find the back and finish Aliyev, especially if Aliyev slows down. And he just needs to make Aliyev work for the first round, play the long game. If he can get Aliyev tired going into the third, that's where he'll have a chance to turn the fight around. And the issue with that for me is Shamrock has finished fights in round 1 most of the time in his career, so he doesn't have a ton of fights that he's done that where he's won later on. But his last fight, he did go the distance for a good fighter, and I think his conditioning is better than Aliyev. So if Shem can use his guard to get up, wrestle back Aliyev, I think that's the key to getting Aliyev tired and finding that position to end the match. And I'm going to roll with the bigger, more dangerous fighter versus the pure wrestler here. I know Shem has deficiencies, and if he loses, maybe he'll get dominated in boring fashion, but I think he could tire Aliyev out. He's better, more dynamic on the feet. I've never seen someone just hold him down, and this fight will be a tough for me to see how how good he really is. If he could beat Shamrock, he's going to be the real deal. So I'm going to say Shamrock wins, though, in this one. Shows experience, and Aliyev will be back, but I'll say Shamrock wins via third-round submission here. And moving it along, we got Ismail Naurdiev versus Ryan Loder in the next fight on this card. And Ryan Loder, Ultimate Fighter 32 season winner, but he needs to bounce back here. He's 1-1 in the UFC so far. He got knocked out in May against Oezdemir, but he got the okay win over Robert Valentine. He was in some trouble in that fight, but he was able to work out of it and then ended up finding the finish himself. And that win's kind of aged poorly with how Valentine has performed in the UFC since then. And then Bekov kind of dominated him, knocked him out pretty quickly. So this fight will show if he's truly UFC level. But Loder, he spent time in Thailand trying to up his stand-up level. And we'll see how he looks on fight night in this one. For Naurdiev, he's an experienced veteran. He's 24-8, 3-3 in the UFC. He went 2-2 the first time he was in the UFC. Now in his second stint, he's 1-1. And when he first joined in 2019, he was only 22 years old. So I believe that he wasn't quite ready. But now he's 29. He's 1-2 in the first 3 fights in the second contract. So obviously he kind of needs to win here to avoid, or he needs to avoid being 1-2, my bad. And, it wouldn't be ideal for him in the second UFC run at 29. But Loder, style-wise, he's a tough style matchup for Naurdiev. He's a southpaw wrestler. We've seen Naurdiev lose to southpaw wrestlers before. And on the feet, Loder, long bladed stance. He'll use his jab, kind of check hook. He could slide in and out of range. Wait for fighters to commit so he could wrestle. He'll mix in kicks, round kicks, lead leg, side kicks. But his wrestling is really good, and he has great conditioning, really sharp. He'll stay sharp in that area because he's the head wrestling coach for Team Alpha Male, so I don't see his wrestling slipping. And if fighters are able to back up Loder and avoid the takedown, that's when you can land on him and knock him out. He doesn't really have great head movement, very heavy on the lead leg, but I haven't really seen too many people try to kick him too much, and I think that's because they don't want to get taken down. But when Loder gets on top, not only does he have good wrestling, but he's aggressive and has a good submission game. He can survive rep positions as well. He's a very good scrambler. So on the ground, he's dangerous everywhere, and he has good conditioning as well. So he's a decent matchup here to me. I mean, Naurdiev is dangerous, and the travel wasn't ideal, but Naurdiev has lost to wrestlers. He fought a similar fighter in Chance Rencounter years ago and got upset in that one. Rencounter's not as tall as Loader, but he's a taller southpaw and kind of controlled Naurdiev to a victory. So Loader has to weather a storm early, and if he could do that, he could wear down Naurdiev, but Naurdiev is a nasty striker. He has 18 finishes, 16 in round 1. His kicks are extremely fast. He throws beautiful straight punches, nice knees, elbows, and if you aren't ready for his heavy kicks early and shoot a bad takedown, he could snatch the neck with a guillotine. If you close the distance, though, you jam Naurdiev's kicks, you put him in the clinch. Naurdiev kind of is a breaking point. If Loader could get top position, I think he has a solid chance to find the finish or just beat up and dominate positionally in this one. Naurdiev tends to be fairly difficult to finish. He got caught a few times early, so you can get him, but he's had over 30 fights, and it's inevitable, with his aggressive style, you're going to get finished yourself early on. But he's only been finished after the first round one time, so when he settles into the fight, usually he can make it the distance, but I think, Naurdiev is first round or bust here, and I kind of think that another underdog is going to bark. If Loader loses, I think a first round finish for Naurdiev is a good hedge, but if he gets one takedown, I think he could change the direction of the fight, and I'm going to say Loader via wrestling cardio, having more dog in him, and winning this decision here over Ismail Naurdiev, or maybe even becoming the first man to finish him on the ground. But I'm going to go with Ryan Loader there in this fight. And up next year, we got a really competitive fight, pretty much a pick-em on the line, and true test for Alexander Topuria. His last fight, he fought Colby Thickness, who is decent, but this is a much tougher fighter here in front of him. And, you look at Bekzat, he has more than double the amount of fights, multiple UFC fights. And Topuria, he pretty much dominated it the first time in the UFC. He went the full 15 minutes, so we got to see a lot out of him. But Bekzat, he had a good performance against Umar where he dropped him, and then he knocked out Brad Katona in 1 minute and 4 seconds. So he's looked very impressive as well. And you look at this fight, I mean, it's one that I think that Bekzat, he has a good chance here in this one to get a big win. I mean, if Topuria had a different last name, I think Bekzat would be like minus 200. You look at Topuria, good pressure. He does a good job of cutting the cage off. He picks his shots well. He'll throw, some nice body shots, good combinations when he can back you up. But I feel like he's a little slow, and I think he's going to struggle to keep up with the speed of Almakhan. I mean, he could land a counter and rock him, but overall, I think he's going to struggle to land as much and could get clipped. And I think the 2-1s are going to land pretty often for Bekzat. I think that his overhands, his uppercuts are dangerous, and he could probably keep this fight on the feet. I think that Topuria, looking at the fight with Nurmagomedov, the game plan would definitely be to take him down, but I think it's going to be easier said than done, and I've never really seen Topuria shoot and get someone down like that that's any good whatsoever. So I'm going to slightly lean with the guy with way more experience that's fought a lot better competition and say that Bekzat Almakhan gets the victory here in a slight upset there. And next fight on the card, huge favorite, not going to spend a ton of time on this one. Abdulrahman Yakhayev, he's taking on Rafael Cerqueira. And Cerqueira, I mean, he's had some hard matchups. He's willing to fight guys on short notice. Every time he goes out there, it's usually a really fun fight. His first two, he got finished in the first round. His last one, somehow won fight of the night. I mean, it was super sloppy, but they're giving him his last fight on his contract, even though he's 0-3 in UFC, and they're feeding him to the wolves against the guy that he's like minus or plus 1,000 underdog against. Yakhayev, I think he's really good. I mean, skillful on the feet. He kind of reminds me of Susurkayev. He is pretty dynamic in the stand-up. A lot of dangerous one-shot attacks. I do think he's a little bit, open, and if you could pressure him and extend him, you could maybe do some work to him, like same as Susurkayev. But really good grappling, nasty submission game. So I think he's pretty solid. I do think maybe he could run into a really good pressure fighter that has good takedown defense and end up maybe having some issues there. But ultimately, I just believe that in this fight, he's probably going to find the knockout in the first round or club and sub. And Cerquera just, I mean, if he can extend him and make it a dogfight, maybe he could find something. But ultimately, I just believe that he's probably getting finished in the first round. So give me Yakhayev. And I think that, at 205, there's not a lot of younger prospects, especially that are athletic and skillful. So I think he could move up the rankings fairly quickly. But next fight on the card, we got Alex Perez versus Asu Amabayev. And I don't have a good read on this one. So another fight where I'm not going to spend a ton of time on it. But Asu, he's had that long win streak, and now he's bounced back. But he faced some adversity, lost to Manel Cape, and now they're giving him another tough matchup here with Perez. But with Perez, the issue is just his body failing him in fights, not getting to the scale, and all those issues in the past. Now it seems like that's behind him, but just really, hopefully his body can hold up, because matchup-wise, I mean, I think if both these guys are healthy and fighting actively, Perez would be the favorite, because Perez's takedown defense is elite. His scrambling ability is elite. I don't see Asu taking him down and holding him down. Maybe he could get his back or something, but we saw Tyra really struggle to take him down in the first round. We saw Muhammad Yakhayev have no success taking down Perez over 15 minutes, really. And on the feet, Perez has big power. I think he's a little bit better. Good boxing, good pressure. Asu moves around and probably is a little bit speedier, but he doesn't really offer too much on the feet. And I think Perez calf kicks, bigger punches, probably could have more moments. So I'm leaning with Perez here. If he's old and, too washed up, even though he's only 33, I mean, I'm just talking about body age, years on the odometer type of thing. But I think he could win this one matchup-wise. So I'll say Perez via decision in this fight. Stuffs the takedowns, pressure, does more damage, and gets the job done there. And next fight, we got a really interesting matchup here. One that I'm really looking forward to was Saygid Izagakhmaev taking on Nicolas Dalby. And, Saygid, he's finally getting a shot at the UFC. He's been a pro since 2012, 22-2 record, and it's not super padded, but, he's faced the best competition he could find. I mean, he's fought at Fight Nights Global, Eagle FC. Recently, he's been fighting one championship, but he got caught in a contract dispute with them, and he's been inactive for 3 years because of that. He fought in May Karate Combat, and he knocked some rust off there, but I guess since he's managed by Ali, trains with Khabib team, he got the in to join the UFC even with the time away. And resume-wise, I mean, 31 years old with the 22-2 record, it's kind of now or never for him. And he is an extremely difficult first fight in the UFC, though, with Nicolas Dalby. And Nicolas Dalby, do or die position for him. He's 40 years old, so the time is running out. In his last two fights, he lost to Hinat Fakhretdinov. Even though he got robbed, it's still a loss on his record. And then Randy Brown was the first fighter to put him to sleep. So that, 2 losses, getting knocked out for the first time, 40 years old, you need a win to definitely preserve your job. Prior to that, though, he had won 4 in a row. He beat Gabriel Bonfim, so he's very tough. And it's just how many times can Dalby go out there and keep pulling out these great performances versus younger guys. But this fight, he's fighting someone who's not fought in years, doesn't have the experience for top UFC level guys, and Dalby does. So I'm sure Dalby feels another upset's on the table for him. I mean, this guy's the upset king. He's like 5-2-1 in the underdog position in the UFC. And you look at Saygid, his one loss to Carlson Harris, he was playing the striking game for most of that. And on the feet, he's flat-footed, he's planted, he's ready to counter. He's kind of an economical striker. He sits, he waits to snipe with single strikes. He's explosive, good power in the left hook, good power in the right hand. He'll throw some heavy kicks, mostly leg kicks, but good body kicks as well. I haven't really seen him fight an opponent who's really made him work. They've stayed at range, played that tit-for-tat game with him. And, Izagakhmaev, I think it's because they know he's going to try. They're going to get taken down by him if they try to do that. And he has a pretty boring striking style. I mean, he just uses range, makes guys, get touched up at distance. And when they close that distance, he wrestles them. And he can't overcommit on punches if someone is longer and kind of good at playing that game with him, like a Dalby, for instance. And Carlson Harris did take him down because of that. But Saygid was able to bounce right back up. It seems like he's someone that's very difficult to hold down. But in round 2, Carlson Harris did use a choke to get on top, and then he was able to eventually lock in a Darce and put Saygid to sleep. So Saygid can kind of shoot bad takedowns sometimes, but when he can get top position, he's suffocating. He stays chest to chest until he can get a submission position. And you kind of need to use feints to open Izagakhmaev up, move around, try to counter him. And if you could force bad takedowns, maybe you could get into a choke position or get on top and break him. But I think landing on the feet, keeping it upright is the smartest strategy. And you look at Nick Dalby, I mean, the guy is a monster. Tough guy to deal with. On the feet, he has some nasty kicks. He gets in boxing range, bangs it out. In the clinch, he has great elbows, knees. If you take him down, he's very hard to hold down or submit. And he's also good with his offensive wrestling versus strikers. And maybe he'll try to take down Saygid. Durability and cardio are a trademark of Dalby's as well. And, he showed some elite takedown defense in his fight versus Fakhretdinov. And that's what he needs here. He has to use his kicks on the feet, try to use his speed, his jabs, long punches, be high volume. And if he can do that, he should be able to control the stand-up. And then if he could provide resistance with the takedowns, with Saygid not fighting in a long time, making him work, extending the fight could only play to his advantage. And with Dalby also, he has to make the fight clear too. If he could, because the judging is kind of maybe biased, just really put a stamp on it, that would be the best case scenario. So the more grimy and ugly Dalby can make it, the better for him though. And he got face planted in his last fight, so hopefully he still has that confidence and aggression in this one. But I'm going to go with Dalby here. I'm going to say that Saygid is coming off easy wins. He is coming off a long layoff. And I think Dalby could win a back-and-forth decision in Dalby fashion. And I think he's getting counted out here. So give me Nicolas Dalby to pull a pretty major upset once again, which he's done many times before. And closing out the prelims, we got another fight where I think that the line should be a little closer with Bogdan Grad versus Luke Riley. But Luke Riley is one of these hyped-up UK guys that people have been wanting to get to the UFC for years. He's another next-gen guy, like I was saying earlier, and is close to Paddy Pimblett, Molly McCann. So they've been pushing to get him in. And his style is all action. I mean, you're definitely going to enjoy him in the UFC in terms of how he fights. Goes out there, pressures you. He wants to try to be patient, head you off, get you, near the fence, and then use his speed. In and out, movement, throws combinations, body head, elite, hand speed, good boxing, solid pull counters. He tries to overwhelm you with the amount of strikes that he throws. And he isn't really like a super powerful guy. You see a lot of his wins, like he's throwing insane combinations and fighters just kind of wilt, or it's like a standing KO TKO type of thing. But he's big for the weight, so he's hard to wrestle. If you do take him down, he can bounce back up. And also his conditioning is insane. He's able to get dropped, get rocked early, because he goes in there and he gets after it. He gets right in your face. He'll leave some openings, but he's able to, get back into the fight and put it on you and break you. And that's kind of what his game is at this point. He reminds me like an older version of Nathaniel Wood, like when he first made it to the UFC. But you look at Bogdan, this guy's a guy with really solid wrestling, good chin. He's kind of awkward on the feet, but he has okay stand-up. He'll throw bombs. He has some creative techniques. I think he's going to be way too slow on the feet here in this fight. He could land some big shots, but I don't know if he has the power to really knock out Riley. And he has to wrestle here to be effective, I believe. But I don't know if he's going to be able to hold Riley down. So ultimately, I just feel like Luke Riley might win this fight. But I don't love it in terms of the line. And Bogdan could maybe, go out here and maybe expose Riley as not being quite UFC level, because he is getting in wars with lower level competition. But ultimately, I just think he's probably too big and too skillful on the feet, too fast, and gonna be able to get a win here. So I don't know if he'll get a finish or a dominant decision, but my prediction will be Luke Riley gets the victory. And the first fight on the main card, we got Tagir Ulanbekov versus Kyoji Horiguchi. And shout out to Horiguchi, he's back in the UFC, which is pretty surprising. I mean, this guy would have had a full second career after a really, really good UFC career where he made it all the way to a UFC title shot. He became the Bellator champion in 2 divisions, became the Rising champion, fought a lot of high-level opponents all over the world, and now he's back in the UFC, but he's a little older. I think he's 35 years old, and I don't think he's been performing the greatest in his most recent fights, but he's taking on Tagir Ulanbekov, so he's fighting someone that's really good, but maybe not necessarily like the elite of the division, and we'll see if he can get his feet wet and kind of prove that he's still a contender, or is he making this second comeback too late? And for Tagir, he's been good in the UFC. He's gotten some solid victories, coming off 2 wins in a row, but he's never really got that marquee win or put together, a long enough win streak to get relevant in the top of the division. But this win would definitely be the biggest name that he's ever beaten and put him the closest he's ever been to fighting guys in the top 5. So stylistically, on the feet, I mean, we know Horiguchi's style. He's one of these Japanese blitzers, really bladed stance, long, super fast in and out, elite speed. He has solid power too, and he does a good job just kind of bouncing in and out, pulling you into his strikes, then blitzing in with body head combinations and either hurting you or just peppering you. And eventually, once he uses blitzes with the hands, he can time the takedowns and has okay grappling, even though that's kind of been his kryptonite, especially when he's fought taller, bigger guys. And Tagir on the feet, I think he's a little vulnerable in this matchup because he does stand upright. I think that the body shots are going to be there. I think that he's a little more flat-footed, even though he can bounce in and out fairly well. he's going to struggle a little bit with the speed, I think, and Horiguchi's ability to close the gap and be in and out. But I feel like if he can time a takedown, he's going to get it. Horiguchi's takedown defense to me just has not looked great recently. And I think that Tagir can get the back in this fight and just kind of win long segments with back control. So that's how I see the fight kind of going. I could see Horiguchi maybe dropping or rocking Tagir in a moment, having a few good striking moments throughout the fight. But I think that a lot of the fight's going to be Ulanbekov on Horiguchi's back, and ultimately he's going to get his hand raised via decision. So Tagir Ulanbekov for the win in the first fight on the main card. And second fight here, we got one that was super short notice. I mean, Waldo Cortes-Acosta, he's, vying for, not fighter of the year, but something. I mean, this guy deserves praise. His last fight, he went out there, he got eye poked, decided to keep going, and found the knockout shortly after. It was controversial. I mean, a lot of people were bitching about it, saying it should have been a no contest, but both men agreed to restart the fight, and Waldo got the knockout. So that's what happened, and now he's flying across the world very shortly after that knockout win, taking on a guy on less than 5 days' notice, and he was, literally in the air hours before weigh-ins. He made 265. He was still sweating on the scale, so, I mean, I don't think he had a crazy weight cut or anything, but obviously he had to cut a little weight, and, he had to fly all the way to freaking Qatar, so I'm a little worried about the conditioning for Waldo, man, but he's known as a cardio heavyweight, and Shamil is known as someone that gasses out, so that's what makes this fight way closer to me. I feel like if this was under normal circumstances, Waldo would win because I think he's good enough to stuff the takedowns. I think he knows that round one, it's going to be dangerous, so making Shamil miss a lot, just being evasive, moving around a lot, making Shamil chase him and throw strikes would be the play. And then when Shamil slows down, you can land on him and get him out of there. And I still kind of feel like that's what's going to happen. But it's just if Cortes-Acosta either in his head thinks, I need a quick finish because I don't have the conditioning here, and gets in a brawl and Shamil can get him on his back and submit him, or can land a big strike himself with his hand speed early and leaked, which Shamil does have. Or Waldo doesn't have the conditioning, and second, third round is just a slot fest, and maybe he loses a decision or something stupid. So I just think this is a pass, but I'm still going to pick Waldo or Cortes-Acosta. I'll say he wins via second round knockout. And this next fight, man, weird matchup here. I'm kind of surprised that this fight got put together. And the line to me makes no sense. I don't get this. I mean, people in the comments are going to have to help me out with this one. Oralbai, a significant favorite over Jack Hermansson. I mean, I don't see that. I feel like Hermansson is the better fighter. I think he has better stand-up. Obviously, his striking, isn't the greatest, but he moves around, he peppers you, he has decent pull counters, good jab, good check hook, solid hand speed, good kicks, really long, lanky, moves fairly well, good shell, but his chin is a little suspect, obviously. The guys that knocked him out, though, are huge guys at 185. He's fighting a lightweight in this fight. I mean, I feel like Oralbai knocking him out, I don't think there's a huge threat of that. On top of him being way bigger, Oralbai is not necessarily like a crazy knockout guy. He has had some fights where he showed some solid power, but I feel like, that meaty care on welterweight, Hermansson's going to be way heavier in the cage, and it's a grappler versus wrestler fight. And I think that Hermansson has the wrestling and grappling, whereas Oralbai more kind of just has wrestling only and ground and pound. But I don't see him taking down and out wrestling Hermansson. I don't think that he's going to outstrike Hermansson, and I don't see him knocking him out. So I just think Hermansson can win this fight, man. I think that he can pepper him with the jab, with the long-range strikes, land some big pull counters, maybe even hurt Oralbai on the feet. I think that he can submit him if he gets on top. I think that he can stuff the takedowns. I feel like Hermansson has the conditioning. I get that he just got KO'd by Rodriguez, but what would Rodriguez do to Oralbai? And on top of that, I don't know. I don't think he's going to get knocked out here. So give me Jack Hermansson to get the upside in this matchup for sure. I think that he'll be able to maybe even get a finish here. So I like Hermansson in that fight. And we got the next fight on the card here. Volkan Oezdemir taking on Alonzo Menifield. And yeah, I got to go with Volkan here. Feel like he's probably going to blitz through him in the first rounds. Both these guys are aggressive. They like to fight. Guys that beat Volkan are usually fighters that point fighting from the outside or can take him down. And maybe Alonzo could get him down, but I don't think so. I think Volkan's takedown defense is on point, especially when he's fresh. I feel like Volkan's going to walk into the pocket. He's going to land his hooks. He's going to land the uppercuts. He maybe even could get Alonzo on his back. And I just think he's going to probably blitz through him. If he can't finish him early, I think that he's going to put enough damage on Alonzo to make Alonzo hesitant. And I don't think that Alonzo's going to be able to out-cardio him or anything like that, like some other guys have been able to do and beat him down the stretch. So I like Volkan in this matchup. I think he's going to get the job done. And I'll say he wins via first-round finish, honestly. Co-main event time, Belal Muhammad. He is going to be fighting Ian Garry. And, man, Ian Garry riding high off the Carlos Prates win. Significant favorite over the former champion Belal Muhammad. But stylistically, this is a hard matchup for Ian. We saw Garry versus Rakhmonov, and he got nullified for almost all that fight because of the wrestling threat. His last fight, he didn't have any wrestling being thrown at him, so he was able to throw head kicks freely. He was free-flowing with the striking. And Belal Muhammad, if he's smart, is going to try to close the distance, back Garry towards the fence. Garry has to either use more side-to-side footwork or not get stationary when he's backed near the fence nearly as much as he does. He's going to have to stand his ground more and try to put some heat on Belal. Garry has good takedown defense against the cage, but he could be held on the fence for large periods, and I think Belal's going to try to use takedowns on the legs, which Garry doesn't defend as well. Muhammad likely will use level changes. I think the double leg in the center of the octagon can be effective, and if it's not, he can use it to drive Garry to the fence, take him down from there. And if you press Garry, you have to have cardio to do it for a full distance. But Belal Muhammad is a cardio machine, so I don't think that's going to be a problem. If Garry is taken down, he usually goes pure defensive. He'll lock in the body triangle, try to mitigate damage. He trains with Damian Maia, so his jiu-jitsu is going to be on point, and Belal's not a submission guy, but Garry, can get held down. And he can time takedowns like we saw his last fight, but I don't see that being a part of his game plan here. The game plan for Garry, I think, has to be go forward. He has to take a page out of JDM's book. He has to look to pressure, be aggressive, fake, draw out Muhammad, counter him. He has to stay off the cage. And Belal's going to be looking to pressure, work the double leg, stay sticky, wear out Garry. I really don't see how Ian Garry's going to stop the wrestling of Belal if Belal throws it at him. And Ian Garry has to take more risks to try to stand up when he does get taken down here, because style-wise, Belal isn't really going to submit him, I don't think. But on the feet, Belal's going to have to cut the cage off, obviously. Use the boxing to set up the takedowns, get into boxing range, take away the kicks from Garry, and he's going to want to put Garry on the cage or on his back. And if I was Belal, I'd wrestle the legs a lot more than the upper body, because I don't think Garry's wrestling is as good there. Durability-wise, Belal has insane durability, so you can afford to take risks on the feet to back up Garry. And Garry isn't known for his power, so Garry to me is a fighter who likes to use the fence's takedown defense. He doesn't have the boxing to stay in the pocket long term with Belal like a Jack Della did. And he wants to be on the back foot sharpshooter with 1 or 2 strikes normally. He's willing to fight off the back foot. Muhammad's going to be hard to hit with the switch stance. And I think he can use the cage to defend versus Muhammad, but he's going to be controlled there a lot, and I could see him losing due to that. We've seen Muhammad go against guys like Steven Wonderboy in 2021, and we still see Wonderboy still fast and difficult to deal with now. So I'm going to go with Bully B here. I think the line's off. Muhammad looked bad his last fight, and maybe he's done, but I think Belal does better when he has a chip on his shoulder, and he's the underdog. He is someone that takes a lot of pride being out of the Middle East, and the last time he fought in UAE had the best performance of his career. He got the finish over Sean Brady. This is the first time that Garry's fighting outside of England or the USA. The climate is way different. Obviously, Brazil, that's a little bit closer, I guess, climate-wise, but even then, I think that it's a big difference going over here and fighting Muhammad in this region. So, I'm going to go with Belal Muhammad via decision in this fight. And I know a lot of people are going to shit on that pick, but we'll see. I think Belal's going to get it done. Main event time. Really interested in this fight. I feel like there's not a lot of times in the UFC when the beef is that real, and these guys really hate each other. So, Tsarukyan hit Dan Hooker with that headbutt at the weigh-ins. That was pretty wild, but I love Dan Hooker's mentality going into this fight. The guy seems extremely confident. Seems like the size advantage is going to help him out in his head. And I do think Dan Hooker's made a lot of improvements. Like, he used to be just a plotter. He'd walk forward and just try to just Terminator you. But his last fight, he was moving a lot better. He was switching stances, which I hadn't really seen him do too much in previous fights. And he needs to use that footwork movement in this one for sure. And obviously, versus Gamrot, he was able to keep getting back up to his feet and put more damage on Gamrot than Gamrot did when he got on top. So, getting back up is going to have to be the game plan as well. And for Arman, there are some questions with him. Mentally, I feel like he's all over the place because he got the title shot taken from him. Now he's fighting a guy he doesn't like, and, the pressure's on him for sure, but I just don't see how this fight isn't one-way traffic, man. I feel like on the feet, Tsarukyan's too explosive, too fast, too powerful. We've seen Hooker hurt multiple times. I think that Tsarukyan can hurt him early on the feet. I think that Tsarukyan could take him down and submit him, or just take him down and blanket him over 5 rounds. Hooker's finisher bust, and maybe he could connect with something major. Maybe he's going to come back with a lot of improvements, but he's older. He's been struggling to get to the octagon due to injuries. I think this line's pretty accurate. I would say Hooker -4 or +450-ish. I think that's probably right. I think Arman could finish him, so Arman Tsarukyan inside the distance is the prediction for me. I think he could knock him out or submit him, so multiple ways I feel like Arman could get this job done here. So give me Arman Tsarukyan in the main event. So there you have it, guys. That's a full card breakdown and predictions video for UFC QATAR. Hopefully you liked it. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Hit the like button. Put a comment down below. Tell me what you think about our predictions. Do you agree? Do you disagree? As far as the parlay of the week this week, I'm going to go with the parlay of the week of Denzel Freeman and Volkan Oezdemir. So there you have it, guys. The most confident pick will be Arman Tsarukyan, I suppose. I think Yakhayev is a confident pick as well. But, yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Hit the like button. Put a comment down below. Subscribe if you're not subscribed. Check out Patreon. And peace out.